quickly, we're going to just pop over and get a view of America, the latest movements. Jim Jatras, the former US diplomat and foreign policy advisor, haven't spoken to you since Donald Trump swept the board, my friend. I'm still surprised. You?
I think we said my brain told me he would lose. My heart told me he would win. I'm generally pleased, but as usual, I'm cautiously pessimistic about how this will all work out.
Good for you. It's very interesting. Well, I wanted to get you on, Jim. Donald Trump, 2 months out from inauguration, creating his cabinet, people going like they did last time, oh my God, he's got somebody who doesn't agree with climate change and somebody who doesn't want to support, Ukraine 1,000,000%. Interestingly, overnight, Joe Biden, who looks more sprightly since Kamala Harris lost I don't care what anybody tells me, I think he was absolutely delighted she lost, so he could tell everybody he's the only person ever to have beaten Donald Trump. He's allowed Ukraine, he's given permission for long-range missiles to be used inside Russia. This is quite an interesting development. Do you think this is to create some sort of legacy, as somebody said earlier, or do you think this is to cause trouble for Trump, who thinks he can cure this all in about a day?
Well, that's the real question. Let's remember, this is the pattern of the Biden administration, whether it was the Abrams tanks or the F-16s. No, we can't do that. That would be World War. Okay, second thought, you can do it. The real question is, who made this decision? It probably wasn't Joe Biden himself. I mean, you wonder what the constellation of people around him is. They were counseling one way or the other. And I think you asked the right question. Is this just a steaming pile left on Trump's doorstep when he comes in? Or is there something about the conduct of the Ukraine war that they actually have in mind? I don't think we know the answer to that question.
I've read all the stuff that says Trump will abandon Ukraine and Trump will, do a deal with Putin. Certainly, we can point out that when he was in power, there were no major conflicts. Certainly, the world has changed in the 8 years since he first came to power. But at the end of the day, with the Middle East, with the Russian war in Ukraine, he says he can sort this. Now, that's the egotistical businessman who likes to close a deal. Maybe he'll prove us all wrong, but I don't think he'll abandon Ukraine, do you? But I don't know. What are your thoughts? What do the American people think?
Well, you mentioned Trump's appointees, and they really are a mixed bag. They're all over the place on some of these issues like Ukraine. And to tell the truth, I think that this move by Biden may help sort things out in the Trump administration, not to Ukraine's benefit. And by the same token, I think this may also impel the Russians to say, all right, we got to just end this thing, and there may not be a Ukraine to support by the time Trump takes office.
What about the Middle East? Where do you think he stands on that?
That's a whole other bucket of worms there. Clearly, he's appointed a lot of people like Marco Rubio and his national security advisor, his Department of his defense chief, who really want to go after the Iranians. I don't think somebody like Tulsi Gabbard, the new head of the director of national intelligence, feels the same way. I don't know if it's just more Trump gamesmanship, escalate in order to de-escalate like he did with North Korea. It's not clear, but all the indications are that what Bibi wants, Bibi gets, and we'll have to see how this works out.
Interesting for me, I read a really interesting article over the weekend that said that Trump, in 2016, yes, he swept to power. They didn't think he was going to win. Even he didn't. It was a sort of a weird result, but he didn't understand the machinations of Washington. He didn't understand how politics and the bitchiness and all those things. It certainly was an interesting night 2 weeks ago. Do you think he'll... I know he's an outrageous character, but do you think in terms of learning from the first time that it'll be a different presidency 2.0? Do you think that he'll have people around him longer? Do you think he'll be more balanced in his approach, or do you think it'll be like last time?
Well, first off, if he was that naive in 2016, that already is a serious deficit. I mean, how could you go into that job and not know what it was snake pit it was going to be? I mean, he's been in New York real estate for his life. I mean, we got pretty sharp elbows, too. He should have been better warned. That being the case, yes, I think he's being cleverer this time. How it will work out, I don't know. For example, some of his nominees, including Tulsi, but also Matt Gaetz as Attorney General, and the other one I'm thinking about that are going to have Robert Kennedy at HHS. I think they're going to have a terrible time getting confirmed by the Senate, even with the Republicans in the majority. The Democrats will still have blocking strength. Some of these may be actually sacrificial lambs that he's putting up there as a political gesture. Interesting.
The feeling in America, I read a I read an article this afternoon that said that a Trump train, so a sort of load of long lorries, all covered in Trump banners and flags and Magda hats shouting, "Donald Trump is God, Donald Trump." About 20 of them in a line were driving through downtown Los Angeles, and all the liberals were standing on street corners giving them the finger. Has America woken up to the shock, or do you think? I mean, it's for us, it was an extraordinary experience. What was it like being there as it came in?
Very similar, I think. Also, given how divided this country is, I think we're still waiting for the other shoe to drop. Your previous guest Tony was pointing out that Trump can make all sorts of promises about mass deportations and things like that. Unfortunately, that's not the way America works. That, as he points out, lawsuits and regulations and laws and everything will tie him down like Gulliver by the Lilliputians, all those ropes. This is going to be a long and grueling process. And if he gets done 1/10 of what he promised in his campaign, it'll be a signal victory.
Great to have you on, Jim. Always great. Jim Jatras, thank you, former US diplomat and foreign policy advisor for the Republican Party. It's